you can check out the code for this video on my GitHub page. The branch that we're using for this video today is the drawer branch. Go check it out. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video about the To-Do app. This is part 18 and we're going to be working on making a drawer, a navigation drawer with an app bar and a link to our app and a login button. Okay, so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. But before I do, I want to ask you guys a favor, because these are videos for you guys and I want to know what type of video you really want. So what I can do is I can of course code everything along, where I will probably hit some bugs. You'll see me fix those bugs, but it's going to draw out the video and it's going to be longer. Or I can go shorter and just pre-code all the stuff and just show you what I changed. They're not going to be that major changes, and you can also review everything back through the GitHub on the branch that we're currently working on. But let me know in the comments down below. I want to know what type of video you really want. Do you want like short with everything already basically done and just show how it works and explain a couple of things? Or just completely code it along and have a chance that it's going to draw out a little bit longer? So without further ado, let's get started on making a drawer. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to cut this and we're going to put in a new component right here on the return. I'm going to return a router. Now, we're not going to make a router, but this is a component that we're going to need later down the line, and I might as well make use of it now. The reason is because I need to make use of withStyles again, and using that within the app component, because it's a class component, it's going to be kind of annoying to deal with, especially considering I already need to make this component. So to simplify things, we're going to just immediately make the router.js right here. RSC for functional component, and import router. Now we can remove these imports. Whoa, okay. This one, and this one. And remove them. Now let's go into the router and we're gonna paste it back in here. Now, in here, what I wanna do is above the context, I'm gonna make a navigation component. And we're going to go into components, new file, navigation.js. RSC for functional component. And that will be that. Import it, and there we go. So we're gonna first import a couple of things, and I'm gonna put some good comments in here. UI components, and we're also gonna need MIUI icons later. Let's import as a named import the app bar, and then from AppMaterial UI core. And we not just only need the app bar, we need a toolbar, icon button, link, box component, button, the drawer component, list item component, list item text component, and the list item icon component. Bunch of components, but I'm gonna explain them to you in just a minute. And then MIUI icons that I want to use as a named one, menu as menu icon, list as list icon, and label as label icon from AppMaterial UI/icons. Let's get started on the navigation, shall we? So we have to take into account, or actually have to think about, how is this going to work? So we have a drawer that we activate with a button. So we obviously need a boolean for that. We're gonna have to make a boolean for that. We're gonna have to make a toggle button or toggle function somewhat. We wanna have all the list items, all the list items, that those are gonna be the links. We want those to be shown correctly, but we don't wanna fill up too much code. So I can probably use objects and just loop through the items to make our code a little bit cleaner. And let's see, I also want to make use of styles. So I'm going to do some prep work here first. So the first thing that I'm going to do is make that use styles. So const use styles, and that's going to equal to make styles. We import that, but I'm just going to put it in here. Make styles, import that from MIUI core. And from there, we put in the theme arrow function with parentheses. So another function with inside there an object, and that object is going to contain all the things that we want. First, let's look at the booleans as well. So I have my styles here. Then we have to import that, of course. So we have const classes equals use styles. Okay, so we have access to those. You know, comment this as styles. Okay, we're gonna comment this as state. We're going to say const, and we can make as a array drawer open set drawer open equals use state. There we go. And import that from React. So just up here, React, comma, named use state. The default is false. By default, it's going to be closed. And let's see, I need a toggle function. So I'm going to say, let's just make functions right here. Const toggle drawer. And this is going to be a simple toggle function. If you've never seen the toggle function before, it's pretty simple actually. We take the set drawer and we just add in the drawer open. So it will set it to itself, but I want to set it to the opposite of itself. By using exclamation mark, it's going to be the opposite. So if it's false, it will set it to true. If it's true, it will set it to false. Okay? So there we go. That's our toggle function right there. We're going to loop through the list. We're going to make sense of that in just a minute, but we're just going to call this, let's just call it drawer items. I think that's a good name. Drawer items, which is going to be an object. Now, every drawer item, as we've seen in multiple drawers, and like, let's say Gmail. Let's look at Gmail, you know. I have a hamburger menu right here, and we have the icon, and we have text. So I want to define those. So I want to create an object in here. Or sorry, this is not supposed to be an object, but an array. Within there, an object, and it's going to have text, which is going to be to-do list. Okay, that's going to be text. And it's going to have an icon, which in case of the to-do list is going to be a list icon. So list icon, it's the one that we imported. And we're going to copy this object and create a second one, and that is going to be called tags. And for that, I want to use the label icon that we imported. And then add a comma, because this is an array. So those are the drawer items. We're going to loop through those later down the line. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to make the app bar. So let's get started with that. So we're going to make this into an app bar. And inside there, a toolbar. Now let's see what that looks like. Let's go and refresh our page. And there's our toolbar. It shows up. Without the toolbar, AppBar is just empty. It doesn't exist. It's just an empty div, but it contains a couple of things for the toolbar. Now, on the AppBar, we can set a couple of things. We can set the position, the variant, default is elevation. We can make it outline if we want to, and the position. Now, we want it to be fixed at all times. We want it to, if we scroll down, we still want that AppBar to be visible. So we can say fixed right here. But if you want to use a different one, you know, you can use any one of these other ones. Let's go back to position. So we got fixed, absolute, sticky, static, and relative. So those are the CSS properties that we've come accustomed to. I'm going to use fixed so it stays in place. Absolute means it's a lot like fixed, except that it will not scroll with you. Sticky, I haven't used sticky in a long time, so I'm not going to bother with that. And static is a lot like it is right now. It's just there, and when you scroll down, it disappears. So we're going to set it to fixed so it stays in place. Then we have the toolbar, which I'm not going to worry about. And the first thing that we want to put in is the icon button for the menu icon. Okay, so we're going to input that menu icon right here. So let's see what that looks like. So there we go. Now it's a little bit over to the right. I want it a little bit more to the left. And these icon buttons, they have a edge prop that they can use. And you can set it to the start, end, or not defined at all, false. I'm going to set it to start, which will make it move a little bit further. There we go. So now it's a little bit more over to the left. And from there, under that icon button, we're going to put the link that we want to have, which is going to be the to-do app. There's also a couple of configuration things that we can do on here. One of them is display it as block or inline. We can change the variant of what type of text it should be. So I'm going to set it to H. Actually, I'm going to keep it empty for now, and I'll show you later why I want to make use of that. And we need to set the color as well, which I'm going to set to, because by default, it's going to be the bluish link color. We don't want that. So I'm going to set it to text primary, which if it is dark mode will be white, and otherwise a little bit grayish. That's the secondary color. So that, And we can also set the underline. So by default, the link has an underline. We can set the underline to false to remove it. Or no, not to false. Sorry, to none. Now let's take a look at what that looks like. Aha, okay, we have to do that. But as you can see, that is a little bit tiny. So that's why I used the variant. So we can make it an H6, for example. And there we go. That's a little bit bigger. I like that a lot more. Now, currently it really does nothing, but we can put a href on here. We can put an href on here, and that href can go, for example, to root, and now it becomes a button that we can click. Okay, cool. And it will just redirect back to the page, of course. And what I want to add next is the button. So I'm going to add a button, which is going to say login. Okay, pretty simple button. Do I need to add anything else? Yes, size to large, because it's going to be pretty tiny if it's not. I'll show you that in just a second. So now we have that login button. It's relatively big-ish. It's reasonably sized. If I were to change this to, like, completely remove it, you'll see how tiny it is. So it's a little bit more tiny. Not that much, but still noticeable. So I'm going to set that to large again. Refresh. Now I want that to go all the way to the right. So a way I can do that is because this app bar is sort of like a flex box, we can make use of flex grow. So what I could do is I can set this to-do app to flex grow, and what it will do is it will extend itself as much as it can without pushing the login or components next to it down below it, like making them wrap. So it's not going to wrap. So we can set it to that, but that means that we can click the entire top to go back to the home screen, which you might want to, you might not want to. We can also center this text if we want to. You know, that's also an option if we want to put it in the center right here. You know, we can do that. And you know what? Maybe that's actually not that bad of an idea. But to do it a different way, what we could do is we could implement a box right here, which is nothing more but a div that is made by Material UI that has a couple of cool properties. If we look at the box React component in Material UI, it will tell you a couple of things about it. So you can say what kind of component it needs to be, so a span or an H1 or whatever you want, really, much like many of the other components. But you can also set margins with M and then a number. We can set colors. Let's see, we can, I mean, there's not much in here that it will tell you about it, but there is more things to the box than you know that it actually talks about. Let's see, all the style functions. Is that what I'm looking for? Borders, display. Yeah, these are the ones that I'm looking for. So we got borders, display, flexbox, palette, position, shadowing, sizing, spacing, and topography. These are all the things that you have access to inside of these boxes. So we can set the box line height, letter spacing, all sorts of things. Really useful stuff. The one that I'm interested in is flexbox. So we can set things like flex grow. So these are the properties that we can change. So import name, we have flex direction, flex wrap, align items, order, flex, flex grow. That's the one that I want, flex grow. So it just works as a prop, basically. There are CSS import versions, but it just works like this. So we can just set flex grow to 1, and what it will do now is it will move that div all the way as big as it wants to, or as big as it is allowed, and moves over this button, as you can see. And now there's this space of nothing in here. Now the other method that I can do is, if I comment this out, is I can put a flex grow on this link, but that would mean that I would either have to make use of styles or classes. I'm just gonna do a class right now to make it easy on myself. So flex grow, set that to 1, and it is the exact same thing. But now I can click this entire top to refresh the page, and you might not want that, you might do want that. Although I do want to change the align here, so I probably can do this. So we can set the align to center, and now it's in the center. And we can, again, click this entire top almost to go back to the home page. Again, that's something you might want. That's maybe something you don't want. Personally, I'm not going to do that. Although I might keep the center, but I'm going to get rid of this flex grow. And instead, actually, nope, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to remove the align as well and get back in this box that just moves it over. So pretty simple, pretty cool, although I think that the to-do app here is a little bit close to the menu button, so let's do that. Let's go into our use state here, or use styles rather, and we're gonna add in the menu icon here, and I'm gonna put in some padding, or margin rather. So margin right, and I want to set that to theme.spacing 2 as a function. Oh. So we have a consistent spacing with the theme. So the icon button right here, class name, and then classes dot menu icon. Refresh, and it moves over a bit to the right, and it looks much better, personally. Now we have that done, we have the actual drawer, which we can put underneath the toolbar. So let's import our drawer. And that drawer is going to have a list. And from here on, we're going to loop through those drawer items. So let's go and open up some curly brackets to go through them. So drawer items.map, and we're going to state a prop here, which is the item inside the drawer items, which is going to be this object. And let's open that up with parentheses as an arrow function. And inside here, we're going to render those components. So we're going to say list item right here. And on there, let's see, we need to make it a button. And the reason we make it a button, well, I'll show you in a second. And because it's a list item, we also need to give it a key because it is in a map function. So we need to give it a key, which is going to be prop.text. Just a way of uniquely identifying each item. So prop.text will work because they're all going to be unique. So that's allowed. Now inside there, we can make use of the list item icon. And we can make use of the list item text, okay? And inside here, we're just gonna put curly brackets and say prop.icon. And inside here, we're gonna do curly brackets and say prop.text. So we're just looping through these and getting them from here. So this is a way nicer way of defining them rather than having this list item, you know, pasted over and over again. It's really annoying. It just fills up your code. To keep it clean, we're just gonna loop through them, which I think looks a lot nicer. So let's refresh. And of course we can't see it because it's not set to true. So let's set this to, actually, I first gotta go into my drawer, which has access to a couple of props. One is anchor, so you can say if you want the drawer to appear from the top, the bottom, the left, or the right. By default it's left, but we're gonna put it to the left just to be safe. The variant that we're gonna use today is temporary. And we have an onClose, which is going to be the toggle function, the toggle drawer function. And we have an open parameter, which or prop that is going to be a boolean whether or not it should be showing, which is going to be the drawer open state that we have up top here. Okay? Let's create some spacing there. And it's not opening because it's not set to true. So let's change the default to true, and you'll see it being open now. So there we go. This is what it looks like open. So we got to-do list with the icon and tags right here, and they're buttons. You can see that they're buttons because you have that pointer icon or the pointer clicker, as well as it highlights, and when you click on it, it has this nice effect on it. And if you click away, it closes back up again. But currently, that's not being done with the state change. So let's fix that. So let's change this back to false. Let's go to our menu icon, or the icon button rather, which is going to have an onClick, and the onClick is going to be toggle drawer, okay? And we have the onClose here, and we also want to put an onClick on the list item, because when we click on the list item, we also want the drawer back to close again. So here as well, toggle the drawer, and now what you'll see happening is when we click the icon, it will appear. When we click something, it will retract. The same as we click away, which is the onClose function, it will just close itself down again. Okay, pretty cool. Now, I'm not really happy with the size of this. I want it to be a little bit bigger, maybe 200 pixels big or so. So we can change that. Let's just go to our list right here. Or actually, no, the drawer. And we're going to go to class name, and we're going to just call this classes.drawer. In here, we're going to say drawer object, and inside here, we're going to say width, and let's set it to 200 pixels. Okay, and that is defined already here as classes.drawer. So let's take a look if it worked. No, it did not. So we need to use it on the list instead. And then of course we're going to call this list, not drawer. There we go. Refresh. And there we go. That width is much more comfortable, looks a lot better. And that is what the temporary one does. This is what the drawer looks like. And we got this button now, we got the login button right here. Looks pretty nice. But you've probably already noticed a problem that we have. The text fields are gone. We cannot see them. What's going on, Sander? Well, the app bar, as it is currently set to fixed, which means that it's sort of a position absolute, but it stays in position. Any content that's below it will just shift right under it. We don't want that. So in order to account for that, Material UI has thought about that pretty well. So if we go to our router component right here, what I can do is I can implement a use styles right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this use styles from our navigation and put it up top here in our router component. Now, I'm going to remove these first objects here, and we're just going to make a divider. So a divider, and what it's going to be is the theme.mixins.toolbar. Now what this will do is it will set CSS properties to the divider that you need to use in order, well, it will account for its own size. So if we put this on a div that is going to be a separator, so if we put this on a div here with class name, and then as in here, we want to have classes dot divider, and of course I need to import that. So we're going to say const classes equals use styles, like so. And now what this is going to do is it's going to set some CSS properties of this div exactly according to what it's supposed to be in order to shift it over and account for all the content that is below it. Now, I haven't tested if this works. I haven't tested yet if this works on the navigation itself. I might as well try. But this just sets some CSS properties to this div that will make sure that the content below it will be forced down. So let's take a look at what this looks like. And there we go. It has accounted for its own size. Pretty cool. And that's what the mixins is used for. It's super handy, super useful. And I'm glad Material UI has implemented that rather than us having to go through our dev tools and go like, okay, so how big is this component? Okay, 64 pixels. Okay, so I got to account for 64 pixels. But if you're going to change things, if you're going to swap to mobile or whatever, the app bar could shrink and whatnot. So you want to account for that. And this is how you do that. And of course, because we have that responsive font sizes, you know, you can see that it does shrink because the to-do app shrinks whenever we go to the mobile kind of view. So there you go. Now, with that done, what else can we do? Well, I can test this out if this works on the navigation itself. I doubt it, but yeah, that doesn't work. That is the drawer component. That is how it works. This is how you set it up. This is a temporary drawer. Look at the documentation if you want a different kind of drawer. Like I said, there's also permanent, which stays in place at all times and shifts over things to the right. There is some CSS modifications and customization that you need to do. The temporary one is by far the easiest to implement. It's the simplest one to use. But if you want to use a persistent one that, like when you click on it, shifts over the content, or if you want to use a permanent one that stays there at all times, a lot like Gmail, or actually Gmail uses a persistent one, then look at the documentation. They tell you everything you need to know about how you should implement it. And I wish you good luck with that. If you have any further questions, let me know in the comments down below. And again, what I said at the start of the video, also let me know what kind of videos you want to see. Me already finished with the code and explaining it, or me typing along as the video goes along. Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, if you like this video, leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike. Subscribe, comment, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, talk to me on Discord. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.